Croeso Sianel Blaid Llwyd. The year is 1915, the place Echo. Yes, we are back with the smoke room and Nick's route. After quite a break, there's been lots of other updates been going on in the meantime. But here we are again with Nikolai's route, and we are just picking things up down in the ice cell of the Hendricks house. No good. This is no good at all. Nick stands in front of me in the box, hiding them from view in the low light of the basement. Is there something we can help you with? No. Well, if it's nothing for you to be concerned about, I think we could easily get sick if the icebox isn't left in order. Was it broken? Well, it doesn't appear to be. You could take a look, couldn't you? He turns to me and watches as I move the box of photographs behind a column, out of sight. Then he turns back to the sheep. It should not be too complicated. He pokes his big head inside, wide shoulders disappearing. Then he re-emerges, tilting his head to the side as he scratches the back of his head. The door doesn't squeak. No visible cracks either. It locks very well. Well, that's something of a relief. I can't thank you enough, Mr. Kroll. I'll just have to recheck the entire inventory of my cook after all this. And I simply must have a stern conversation with my husband about who he lets muck around down here. I'm loath to say, gentlemen, but I don't know which products are safe to use at the moment. No ice cream to be made today, I'm afraid. That's all right. But you sound so disappointed. That is just how he always sounds. I give him a look. He elbows me gently. Maybe next time then. Neither of us respond. Mostly because we figure there won't be a next time. We've been in this dusty cellar for far too long. It has been 10 minutes. This is nothing. Now, there's no need to be modest. I can see how you've shuffled so. There's some truth to what she's saying. Nick has been more stiff than usual. Something's bothering him about this place. If people weren't made to be in places like this. I get spooked myself in a basement as dark as this. Let's go greet the sunlight, shall we? It takes a while to go through the hallways, moving counterclockwise to the way we came, to get to the stairs to the kitchen. We hear dull chopping noises as we ascend, and see the cook preparing something green and savoury smelling. As Nick and I pass the cook, Mrs. Hendricks taps her on the shoulder. Oh, Hattie. She turns her head slowly. Mrs. Hendricks? I'm afraid there's dreadful news. She looks lost in her chopping board, concentrating on the slices. How dreadful are we talking? Somebody messed with the icebox and left the door ajar. The perishables in the cellar have been contaminated. The chopping stops. She looks a little scared. You don't think that's my fault, do you? Oh, no, not a whit. A wave of relief spread across the wolf's face. We have to go through everything to make sure it's safe to consume. Well, that shouldn't be too bad. My son can help too. But what is bad is the timing. The solstice is less than a week away. I can't suffer a mediocre cake on the biggest night of the summer. What would the Historical Society think? James knew this was important to me. There, Mrs. Hendricks. Have a warm pie in the oven that'll last through the afternoon and into the evening. I've already scouted out the local farms and markets. I'll make sure we have everything we need within the next 2 days, tops. I appreciate that. I'm just upset over giving you more work than you would have had to do. It's not a problem at all, Mrs. Hendricks. I'm just grateful to have a job in a house this nice. She blushes a bit. Oh, it's not that nice. There's lots of work to be done, you know. That husband of mine is going to get an earful. She pokes her head around the corner. Then she looks back at the cook. And speaking of which, where is he? The cook's lips tighten. The master of the house said he has errands to run. He left the house less than 5 minutes ago. A nerve. He knew we had guests. True, ma'am. I reminded him, but dared not keep him. I see. She turns to us. Gentlemen, I am truly so sorry I could not manage to be a proper hostess. It appears that we are going to be quite busy in the coming hours. Would it be terrible of me to ask you to come back at a different time? Oh, no. Not at all. She lets out a long breath. Oh, thank you so much. I do hope we can meet again under better circumstances. Of course. She leads us to the door and opens it. The hot air of the desert covers us like a scratchy blanket. Before we go... Yes? The Historical Society mentioned. Would they happen to know anything about the stuff we talked about? Up in the parlour? Well, yes. Though some of them are very prideful of the legacy they have built here, or take great offence to the notion of otherworldly powers at work. I happen to know who might be comfy talking about such things. Well, I'd consider some members experts in the matter, but they like to keep a low profile. Do you happen to know either Holly or Dahlia Burns? Oh, that must be the photographer's family. They have a brother. Oh, yes. He's rarely attended society gatherings, but I'm told he has some interest in the supernatural as well. Their mother, on the other hand, has no patience for such notions. So you have to catch them alone if you want to get anywhere, and they're rarely alone. At least at gatherings. Oh, I see. Anybody else? Well, There's Dr. Brisbane, Spell Jennings. Those names don't ring a bell. Right. They can be a bit reclusive. I have to wonder. You don't work with any of the Moors, perchance? I tilt my head. I do, actually. If you don't mind me saying so, I presumed as much. They're a big family, have people in all sorts of places. Some of them can be plenty influential in the occult circles. That gives me some ideas. Thanks. I nod and Nick bows deeply as we leave. Mrs. Hendricks waves, watching us from the porch, as the armed men at the gate press a button which opens the gate for us, without the need of any people. Well, I hope this visit was helpful. I rub the back of my neck as we keep walking. It was certainly something. There's more people who believe in spook stuff than I thought. What? Do you know for sure that it is many people? Or is it mostly coming from people who have too much free time and money? We saw something down there, Nick. We did. But did the people who say they believe in these things see anything for themselves? I have my doubts. Okay then. How else do you want to approach going back down for the gold? Waltz him back on in and trying again? I think we should talk with Yao about it. He won't even talk to me about what we saw. Probably because he does not know what we saw. Did any of us? You know. I hear a voice. That horrible voice. Sam? Yeah? You stopped walking. Did I? Your hair's standing on end. Oh, really? Is it? Your demeanour just changed. Is it your head? No. Do you need water? I drank plenty during breakfast. You need water. He pulls the canteen off of his belt. Nick. Drink. He puts it in my hand and stares me down. I glower as I bring it to my lips and sip. It's too warm to be refreshing, but the instincts of thirst kick in. I need more than a few gulps. He gives me a heavy pat on the shoulder with his huge paw, and then takes the canteen back, screwing the top on. Hey, Nick. What? I'm only going to tell you this. Well, because you're my best friend. I see him start to grin when he hears that. He puts on a more serious face as quick as he can. What is it that you need to say? You ever hear voices in your head? Voices? He looks alarmed again. What kinds of voices? Mean ones. Ones that don't seem like my own, I mean. Oh, there's plenty of voices in my head, too. There are? Yes, my own. Yeah, we're not talking about the same thing. Of course we aren't. You did not hear anything until after the accident, yes? Yeah. You're still sick, then. Is that what you think? That is what I think. So what if you're wrong? Then I won't be embarrassed. I am no doctor. Do you think I'll be sick forever? He slows down his walk speed and looks at me. No. Of course not. How do you know? There isn't a doctor close by to tell me I'm wrong. So I picked the answer I liked. I think that's how health works, Nick. Oh. Is it not? Because I could swear that you continue to ask me medical questions. He smiles, but I can tell he's worried. I change the subject. So where should we go now? Work. I thought there was a strike today. There will be picket signs and protests. We should show our faces there. Want to get into more trouble? Or I'm already in trouble with the bosses. I'd rather not be in trouble with my co-workers if I didn't support them. It's also where I expect to find Yao. We can't proceed with anything until we talk to him again. I sigh. All right. We aren't that far from the mines anyway. It takes less than 5 minutes to reach the quarry. The carts are locked down on the tracks. A crowd of what looks to be at least 1,000 men strong speak, filling the quarry with a low drone of constant chatter. I don't think this is the entire workforce, but it's more than I've seen in any one place together. Justice for Dmitry Popov is written on signs, along with unflattering mugshots of James III and Briggs. Justice for Jack Abner is written on others. I feel sick again. In the distance, by the mine entrance, a throng of men stand in front of the entrance. They're armed. There are men with guns standing at the front of the office on top of the hill, too. It's hard to find any familiar faces in the crowd. Nick looks out into the distance and suddenly throws his hand into the air, waving. Felipe is waving back in the distance, carrying a sign of James III eating money. Paul is beside him with a sign that says, "Workers put out, bosses just sleep." Well, I'll be. About time you two showed your faces. It's being to say you wouldn't show, Nick. You're several hours late. I apologize, friends. A lot happened last night and this morning. Such as? We're invited to the Hendricks residence. What? Stop yanking our chains. Nick pulls something from his pockets. Then he puts it into the hands of the Wolverine. I do not joke about these matters. He and the hare take a look at the photograph. Felipe looks scared. Paul just looks angrier. So they're stalking folks now, is that it? Bet they're going to think twice about singling people out if half the company shows up. We need to talk to Yao. Is he here? Haven't seen him. Me neither. That is troubling. Is it? He usually has his own way of doing things, doesn't he? Nick hums and shakes his head. Even so. It's not like him to disappear after something like that happened to Dimitri. I was wondering when you lot would show up. I can hear the foreman from behind a group of men who shuffle out of the way. As he comes closer, I'm face to face with his eyes. It looks as if he's barely gotten any sleep in the last few hours. I want the two of you to come with me. Mind if we speak? Why us? Yeah, why them? Exam management. And I manage. Any more questions? Yeah, I got a question. How much of a damn do you give about Dimitri's foot? Beckett scoffs. I get plenty. That could have been any of us. He grouses. Almost wish it had been so we would be in this mess today. And it wasn't. You know that man did something that was explosives. Beckett sighs and then hisses. I actually don't. I've been through this. How about all the missing men? How many has it been now? 10? 20? Once I know, you'll be the first to know too. Yeah, sure you will. The Wolverine spits on the ground. Anything else? None of us have much to say. Alright then. Why don't you both come with me then? I don't feel comfortable with that. Don't feel comfortable? And why not? I don't wish to unintentionally represent anybody other than myself. And I have to meet with somebody else before. What, you mean Dimitri? I am not at liberty to say. He sighs and looks Nick up and down. It's a valuable thing to be able to talk man to man without listening to any whispers on your shoulder. There's an old saying, you know. You cut off the head of a snake and it dies. If you don't think for yourself, then you're just acting like a body part. I think you have a firm misunderstanding of this situation. He tilts his head and takes a few reptilian blinks. That's so. The whole point of an organization like this is that none of us is the head. So what's the hold-up then? We won't have a useful conversation if I don't know what everybody else thinks. The man who can help me understand does not seem to be here. Okay. We don't have to talk. But if you don't have a conversation with me, then sooner or later it's probably going to be the boss. What'll it be, fellas? I thought my answer was already clear. Well, honestly, Nick, I don't mind talking to him. Don't, Sam. Let him speak. You're the new man, yeah? Very new, so I have nothing to gain and nothing to hide. That's so. Take a walk with me. Let's have a time with it. I turn around to give Nick a look, hoping he'll pick up on what I'm doing, giving him time to look for where Yao had gone to. He looks annoyed, but I think he gets the message. The lizard gives me a look. Up to the management building. Here, the conference room where we'll have some privacy. You got a hard time coming, you know that? How'd you figure? Rumour could get out that you're a snitch. To folks like that, if you don't bend down to wipe their ass, then you're an enemy to the whole lot of them. From what they tell me, they say you do the same thing to the bosses. That's so. I couldn't give two shits about the bosses. Riggs knows I know what I'm doing, which is the only reason he keeps me around. That's a desirable quality in a businessman. They run the company, let me operate all functional like. You all get food on the table and a bed to sleep in. They fuck it up, the mine falls, and you all ship off to the next town. Fair work for fair pay is the most anybody wants. You don't see anybody disagreeing with that. Folks won't say they disagree with that. There's always folks who don't want to do their fair share. Best not to underestimate greed. The secretary watches with beady eyes as he walks through the front door. Can hear shouting through the door again. 48 hours? I don't got 48 hours, I have 0 hours, sir. 0 hours. The office is occupied. I can see that. We're near the conference room. She swivels in her chair and reaches down to a pair of gold-coated keys hanging on the wall. Of course you should still send them over. If you care about any quartz quotas being met for the next 6 months. Half an hour, Mr. Moore. Generous today, I see. She gives him a thin, forced smile and he opens the door. The room is sparse, the voices near the room don't carry. What's the boss talking to? That's none of our business. And I'm asking the questions here, remember? The good woman did say 30 minutes. Let's get started. Okay. Were you paid to plant an explosive? What? You kidding me? A hero will double their price if you give us the name and the amount. I think you're confused. Nobody paid me to plant an explosive. Well, it wasn't one of our guys. It'll still know that benefits the Workers' Coalition better than the CEOs. Everybody agrees the dynamite was bad. I'm sure that man Ben is behind it. Ben's one of ours. You sure about that? That man tried to kill me right in front of you. He's got nothing to gain by making himself look like a lunatic. And I think he might just be a real lunatic. He's the one who set off that bomb. You got a way to prove it? If you did, it could smooth it over this entire ordeal. Not really. I know the first thing about fixing bombs or he might have done that. I just know he had the backpack for that moment he went away. That man wants my job. How's it help him to cut our labour in half for God knows how long with a scandal? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. But you tell me that nobody in power suggested he did it? Right? Not without hard evidence, no. So what happens if you never get hard evidence? What happens if there's never a consequence when somebody does something wrong? You can't condemn innocent men over emotional impulses. I know the look of a killer. It's on him. And how would you know about that? Shit. Why did I say that? How would I know about that? Go ahead. Tell him. I think you and I both know there's plenty of ways to end up in that position. True enough. I know what it's like to go to bed hungry. Maybe you might be afraid that you can't take care of your family. Maybe you start thinking you wouldn't mind seeing others go without, you could make sure your own is taken care of. That kind of fear can change a man. I clear my throat. I think I can see what you mean. The reflection of his gaze is almost glowing as he stares through me in the dark. I suspect it could be as discomforting as mine is to him. I have a bit of a confession to make. Are we getting somewhere now? There's a reason I wanted an opportunity to talk with you today. Oh, really? I met Mrs. Hendricks today. He looks irritated now. So what? So, she told me the Moore family's a knack for, well, knowing things. He leans forward in his chair and shifts his weight to his elbows. Let me tell you a little secret. Anybody who tells you they have all the answers to unanswerable things, things about this world or the next world and beyond, the truth of all things and all that other crap, you're like if they know 10% of anything. That holds especially true and applies to the sorts of people who spawn out of my family. Are you talking about your brother? I have a thing who calls himself my brother. As far as I'm concerned, my brother is dead. Damn it. I keep accidentally touching people's sore spots. Unfortunate. He makes a shrugging motion by turning up his claws. Yeah, I'm persistent. I gotta ask you this then. Do you think there's anything in those caves that shouldn't be there? Something that's nothing to do with the bosses, the union, the workers? How deep have you been? Level 3. It gets worse the deeper you go. What gets worse? The buzzing. What do you think it is? He looks at me like my brains are made of banana pudding. What did I just say less than a minute ago? I don't know. Call it a curse or an animal or a natural occurrence or visitors from another world. I just call it what it is. So what's that? A problem. How many people know about it? I don't know. Sometimes a lot, sometimes almost nobody at all. It used to be how I thought it wasn't really real. Till other people started talking about it. Hearing the same weird sounds. Experiencing the same weird dreams. All aiming down into the ground. It looks like he's concentrating hard. Maybe on a memory. Maybe on an idea he has. He takes another look at me. And stumbles out of his chair. He scrabbles onto his feet and then forces himself against the wall, scrabbling for something behind him, not taking his eyes off me. There's terror in them. And then there's a dull, cold look. He stops panicking. He breathes. He opens the door behind me. That'll be all, Mr. Ayres. I blink at him, wondering if he expects me not to remark on what just happened. As I stand, he leaves the room. He slams the keys on the secretary's desk and leaves the office without looking back. She gives me a look to ask me what happened with her face, but never vocalizes it. So neither do I. And I leave the building. But the first thing I hear when I open the door is shots going off. My hair stands up on my arms. As I get close to the field, I can see the foreman of the pistol pointed skyward, gun smoke coming from the nozzle. Nobody seems to be on the ground or injured from what I can tell. A wave of relief comes over me when I can see that Nick and the others still stand where I left them. The scene in front of me hasn't changed much in terms of who's standing where and how many people are afoot. It strikes me as strange how I can hear very little sound from a crowd that big. There's a stillness among the crowd which wasn't there before. What happened? Did somebody get shot? As if they dare. They fired warning shots when the crowd got too close to the entrance. They're going to shoot somebody. Well, I do not think so, Sam. He says that very calmly. I can't tell if he thinks that's true or not. They do seem to be getting the message, though. There's much more of us than them. So what did the foreman say to your friend, Nick? Yeah, I want to know what he's telling him. I think there's only one thing we talked about that would make them relevant. And Nick wants to find you out. Help us find him? You avoiding the question or something, boy? Let him explain. Ain't it better to talk about these things discreetly? I figured your leader would want to hear about it too with his own ears. Dimitri ain't our leader. We ain't got a leader. Haven't you been paying attention? Does not matter what Sam calls him. Sam says he should hear this, and he should. I know where he is. You do? Yeah. He's in bed in the Northside Clinic. I almost had to restrain myself to keep him from coming out today. Once his cast set, you know I'll be back up here. Yep. Do they allow visits? Let us in, didn't they? That they did. Mind taking us to him? I was going to insist we do anyhow. This way. They balance their picket signs like soldiers would balance their muskets as they lead the way down the dirt road west into downtown. I turned my head and muttered to Nick. I'm surprised we didn't see Will at the rally. Just because you didn't see him doesn't mean he wasn't there. When his workers raise up arms against the bosses, the law is always close by. God forbid it's the other way around, though. I believe that I would have seen him had he been there. Why is that? Because I am very tall. Felipe looks behind his shoulder and Paul spits on the ground. But really, I think he is keeping his distance until he cannot. What makes you so sure about that? He gets distracted when he's absorbed in a case. I can attest to that as well. The last time we saw him, it seemed like his mind was elsewhere. And where was the last time you saw him? Last night in the mines. Sam. Hey, no, it wasn't like that. He's looking for leads on that man who was found dead. The man that you killed. Can you believe that? I think I do, yeah. I got some powerful ointment I'd love to sell ya. Thanks, but I don't need no medicines, I ain't sick. The two exchange tired-looking glances. Nick clears his throat. Well, I'm not worried about William Adler. And why's that? Because the sheriff would not wait to arrest us if he wanted to. That's all you got? What if he's tailing you? Then I'll catch him doing it. Life is too short to worry about things that have not happened yet. Paul grunts. Felipe faces forward and taps his shoulder with a picket sign, like he wants us to pick up the pace. When we get to the clinic and Paul drops our names to the receptionist, we're let in no time at all. The black bear has his foot in a cast, but stands when he sees us. Friends! His expressions are just as bright and strong as I remember them, but his voice sounds tired and worn. It's a quality I recognise. It's the kind of scratches you get in your throat after a lot of screaming. Should you be standing? Oh, sit down. We'll come to you. Oh, enough of that out of you. Well, not your Alzra, this wound is nothing. It's going to be something you don't let it heal. Dimitri waves his paw in the air. Casting the crutch will take care of that. Nick clears his throat again and steps forward. Well, it's good to see you well, Dimitri. Well, you say? Well enough, at least. The bear laughs. I've seen men lose their whole jaws. What's a few foot digits? Your tenacity is astonishing. I counted more than 1,000 men at the rally. You can thank Yao for that. Can I? He and his friend have contacts with the press. The old one that burned down? The other one, on the east side of downtown. The last one, you mean? Well, yeah. There's always got to be somebody to push out the morning paper. Until dry season. Well, that one goes up in ash, another will pop up sooner or later, no? Nick shifts his weight from one foot to another. There is something I need to ask you, if I may. You may. He looks so uncomfortable when this many eyes are on him. Do you happen to know where Yao might be right now? I tell you, it's still thicker than blood, eh? Oh, I'll leave it to Nikolai Kroll to visit me at the clinic to ask me where Feng Yaolin is off to. I did not mean any disrespect. His deep laugh is a lot more raspy today when I last heard it. And I'm sure you mean then. It's been a long night is all. It's just a bit single-minded. Always has been. There's no need to mock him. No. I deserve this. I think you should tell me what to do less and tell Dimitri what you're talking about the foreman. Considering that was your excuse not to talk about it. If he keeps pushing me, I might start pushing back. But Nick has a look in his eyes. It seems to say, don't. Alright. I'll talk about what he said. At least the parts that are relevant to them. I don't want to mention the buzz in the mines that gets worse the deeper you go, or the reaction he had to me when he looked at me. Dimitri's ears perk up in a state of amusement. What business would you have tampering with explosives? None. Because I didn't. And that damn yellow dog. I bet my life on that. There's only one stick that was tampered with. How do you know that'd be the one you'd pick? There are ways to go about it. So, we're on the same page, friend? We are. Could somebody explain it to me, then? The hare nodded quickly. Tricks to make you pick one piece of dynamite over another is only one in the bag. If one piece is longer or thicker, you're more likely to touch it first when your hand reaches into the bag. Or if you only mess with one stick, you'd have to make it a different shape. You just have to wait for one of us to pick it eventually. Then boom. You could have just gotten lucky to have any of the first one that got picked out of the bag. More like unlucky. It's damn obvious he's the one who did it. It would be much harder pinning on him if there were more time in the instance and he had an alibi. Why did the foreman suspect Sam? I was vexed by that line of thinking too. It tells us something, doesn't it? It does. Be in? Ben planted the bomb, and nobody told Beckett. So either he is acting completely on his own, or somebody's giving Ben instructions and isn't telling the foreman. Dimitri's eyes sparkle. Well, he's wanted that promotion for a while now, yes? Desperate men are easy to influence, don't you agree? Oh, I see. Unfortunately, I'm harder to kill than that. And because I was available to get my message out to the papers, I have assured you that our response was robust. I'll return to work as quickly as possible. The corner of his mouth upturned slightly. If Ben receives blame publicly, we'll know where his orders came from. But I suspect we already do. Everybody shuffles around a bit, either uncomfortable with the implications or reaffirmed by them. I myself have never met a group of men who could keep track of so many different hypotheticals in my life. It's like everybody's turning into William. Well, that's out of the way. Are you going to tell us where Yao stole off to or not? The rally is already a success. I told him to take it easy. As it happens, we all should. Let's all meet him at the Stag, shall we? That barn near Lake Emma. Oh, I like this plan. I give Nick an incredulous look. He raises his arm and scratches the back of his head nervously. It's a great place to have a conversation, Sam. Lots of noise and privacy. Oh, cheers to that. I'd rather you stay here. Come now. I'll buy your drinks for you. I can buy my own drinks. I can't buy you a new foot, though I could sculpt you a peg if you're so determined to lose it. If you have to get him drunk, keep him away from work, keep him off his leg, then so be it. Let's grab our things and get to the Stag, boys. After all this walking back and forth, I hope these men trust me. If we're going to go back and get that gold, it means we're going to have to go back to the mines at some point or another. We need people on our side if we want to last until then. I just hope this will be enough. The way to the barn isn't as slow as I thought it would be. Dimitri's keeping a steady pace despite his crutch. There's dancing and drinking and people throwing metal horseshoes at poles outside. It smells like fresh hay, sweet malt and sawdust. Plus that slightly unpleasant layer of body odor you get when there's too many people in one place. I don't see that tiger anywhere. Nick, could I have a private word? He looked at the group we arrived with. You don't mind, gentlemen? Well, now you mention it. The bear cut him off. Not at all. We'll be in the usual spot. Of course, of course. Paul gives a look for climbing up the ladder to the barn above. Felipe and Dimitri to follow. Me and Nick find a rafter by the dance hall. We have to wade through a wall of people to find a seat. Nick, I've sworn the last time we came here there weren't half this many people. The music and the sound of voices are so loud I could probably talk at a low shout and people still couldn't understand what I was saying. Thankfully that's what I want right now. It's the first time in months some of these men have had the free time to come because of the strike. Is Yao the kind of man who enjoys free time? What's that supposed to mean? I mean, he looked pretty rattled last night. I haven't seen him since. He wouldn't leave without talking to me. But how'd you know that? Saying what I knew would eventually tell me the worst thing you did. Trust. I can tell when a man has character. Frankly, I don't think I'd have trusted somebody like myself to have any character. No offense. He pats my back. And yet you're here right now. I guess. So, no matter how we look at it, I'm right. You look awfully smug about it. What is the value in modesty? His smirk grows wider. We should be proud of the things we're good at. Sometimes if we don't praise ourselves, nobody else will. I put my hand on his thigh. You'd have to tell me twice. Sam, what are you... You know I can feel you get warmer when I praise you, don't you? He shudders a bit and lowers his voice. Sam. Oh, yeah. He's already heating up like a furnace. So I give him a squeeze. But then he starts shaking me and pointing. Oh, look. What? My voice sounds a little harsher than I meant it to be. I follow the direction of his claw and see a large striped tail lead out of the exit of the barn. We both sit up and follow it, going past the door. Inside the barn is a meadow where more men are throwing horseshoes, chatting and drinking. But there's a row of smaller but still barns where different folks are coming in and out of. Inside we see a group of men standing over a bar with rounded metal edges poking out of each side. One takes a turn to crouch and then lifts his knees, straining and grunting. As he lifts it past his head, the crowd standing in the overhead rafters hoot and holler. The other man, a wild dog who follows suit, seems to make a lot more noise. He roars out and he lifts his knees, raising the bar above his head as the crowd heckles him. He pushes the bar higher, then drops the bar in the hay, kicking up dirt. Cheers turn to disappointed groans. What the hell is going on here? Wasn't it obvious? Have you never seen a strong man face off before? Not too fond of circuses. This isn't a show, Sam. This is the real deal. It's where I work out, in fact. I didn't know you worked out. What, do you think you're the only one? Or did you just assume I couldn't afford proper equipment? I didn't say that. He starts laughing. Relax, Sam. I cannot afford my own equipment. But we all chipped in to share a space like this with the community. I see the next group of men bending over bars. How the hell are you supposed to build muscle like that? I think about the sets of kettlebells that give me more resistance than I ever need to build muscle. They aren't doing sets, they're just bragging about the power that they have. Seems dumb. Oh, dumb? How? You can either lift something or you can't. Just a fact of mathematics. Mathematics? Well, yeah. The more muscle you have, the more you can lift. Is that so? Yep. So, who has more muscle, Sam? You or me? Huh? I never really thought about that before. There's just more of him than me. But I think I'm healthier. Might even have more muscle than him. Oh, I supposed I'd say me. Is that so? I reckon it is. And why is that? Well, I've got more stamina. Uh-huh. And I'm mostly just muscle. Right. So I figure I can lift more. Much easier all those gases I take in to go to all the right places and give me power. Gases? Yeah. He nods and starts to whistle. Then he goes with the tall falcon standing over the men, judging them. Can we go next? What? The judge whistles through his beak at the other two men. Ja, then. The German shepherd nods his head, backing away from one bar while the polar bear groans and stretches, hopping away. Have at it. What do you mean, have at it? Oh, no, I came as fast as I heard. Oh, no. He's here? Looks like the new guy's got some fight in him after all. Yeah, to put him in against Nick. Is that really fair? Shut up. You'll mess with them momentum. Paul slaps me on the shoulder. Hard. I see those muscles aren't just for show. A one-note laugh escapes my breath. What? They catch your eye? You'll catch my paws if you don't stop stalling. I stumble forward, almost hitting my shins on the bar. Feels like everybody in the room is looking at me now. Can't we just call this a draw? I don't even know how to hold this damn thing. I feel a bit hot under the fur. This is stupid. Oh, like so. He crouches and lifts it almost effortlessly, of course. I lean down, shaking my head, and I hear people laugh. You have to spread your feet. My head snaps up. Now he appears and chatting me up. He always shows up when I least expect him to. And do not lock your knees. I reposition my feet and bend down. It's heavy, but not too heavy. Okay. See? I lifted the thing too. Easy. Now do this. He blows out air from his lungs, then inhales. Then he lifts the bar above his head, locking into place, and smirks at me. I gave you a head start. The crowd is going wild. They're already on his side. Then let me catch up. The weight feels a lot heavier when I have to use my forearms as well as my biceps as supported. I hear myself groan. That stings. Pain is temporary. Pride is forever. I never heard him talk this much. He's smiling and barely breaking a sweat. People are cheering for him, encouraging his strength. It's hard to wonder if I've ever seen him this comfortable. The closest it's ever come was when he's in bed with me. Shit. This is getting way too heavy. Can we stop now? Well, we can stop any time we want. Well, if you put your bar down first, you have to admit that I have more muscles than you. Is that really true? I mean, I knew you were stronger. So, what are you waiting for? Just put the barbell down. Does this mean he's healthier than me too? I always thought Nick was struggling to get by. Maybe I am worse off than him. Or maybe he's just doing well in spite of everything. Doing better than all of us. The way he laughs sounds the most alive I've ever heard anybody be. I feel my arms start to wobble and try to drop the bar as gently as I can. He's still holding it up, smiling down at me. I can tell from the twitch in his arm and the sweat on his brow that the weight was getting to him too. He still manages to hold it all without breaking. I want to know how. What makes me brittle and what makes him like rubber? I want to know how. With more applause, he sets the weight down gently into the dirt. Fuck it. I don't need to be thinking about this right now. Now that we're done with being sidetracked, I try to remind Nick why we're here in the first place, bringing my voice to a whisper in his ear. Should approach Yao before we lose him again. Well, it's not enough that we found him. We need the right place and the right time to approach him. We follow him over to the area of the barn where there's an array of equipment. Yao is on the floor, supine, holding 2 dumbbells in his hands. He lifts his arms and his torso, folding over himself with the weights in each hand. Hey there. He doesn't answer. I look at Nick and point my thumb at him. He just shrugs and starts picking up weights to try out. I shake my head and continue watching Yao. After 3 sets of 10, he throws the dumbbells to the ground, then runs to a tall beam, jumping up and over it. I wait for him at the end of the beam. Hey. He runs past me, shining with sweat as he lunges towards a rope without knots connected to the ceiling. He starts climbing, vertically. You know, I could do that too if I... He hops down, landing on his feet. I do it then. I'm sort of reserving my energy. He starts climbing without me. Is this really going to be how it is? Okay. I see a bucket of chalk and dip my paws in it, rubbing them together, and I start to climb. I take the knotted rope, but he's still climbing faster than me. Once I'm at the top, I stop to take a breath. Alright then. He starts climbing down as I begin to speak. So I climb down too, feeling one of my whiskers twitch. Excellent form, Sam. You're starting to keep up with Yao. Nick, can you stop it? I hear myself hissing. Whoa! What's the matter? There's something we're supposed to do and you keep messing around. He sags a bit when he hears me say that. Oh, I apologise. I was enjoying myself. Can't we enjoy ourselves later? He frowns. Usually there isn't a later. There are personal chores to be done even on the Sabbath. After that I'm usually too tired to do much of anything. Right. I'm not used to the long structured hours that he works. He barely sees daylight. Alright. Oh, I've been acting foolish, Samuel. No. I mean, I get you're excited and all. I just didn't want to call too much attention to ourselves, considering what's ahead of us. You know? Well, of course. He takes me into a warm, damp embrace and pats me on the back. I'm sorry I dropped you into the deep end. I don't exactly swim. Would you like to learn? We both flinch when we hear Yao paying attention to us again. It is not too terribly difficult. Me and water don't exactly mix. Perhaps. But some privacy away from everybody might do us good. What do the both of you say? We look at each other. Nick nods slowly. A dip will do us good for sure. I don't really like the idea of mucking around in muddy water where there might be mosquitoes and leeches. But I hang my head and nod too. We collect our clothes in potato sacks and start walking in the direction of the lake. It's a good 20 minutes of hiking before I see a shack next to a rocky pool. I can hear a small waterfall trickling to the lower waters of the pool. Is this discreet enough for you yet, Yao? He slips out of his overalls and kicks them off messily before he jumps into the water, making a splash. The hell? What? Did you think I was lying? I need to cool off. That's not why we're here, though. Hear another big splash behind me. Nick is in the water, resurfacing from the depths like a boy, floating on his back. Join us, Sam. Until we talk about what we're doing going forward. Yao swims up, whiskers dripping with lake water as he places his toned arms on the rock, kicking in place. What is there to discuss? Will you go back tomorrow night? You win that thing down there. Tell me, Sam. Are you afraid to die? What? What kind of question is that? A simple one. That is a grim thing to ask somebody, Yao. He stopped kicking his feet and pulled himself out of the water, plucking a towel from out of one of the potato sacks. Let's not lie to ourselves. There's always something somewhere, isn't there? As below, so above. Isn't that something they say in your faith, Samuel? What the hell does he know about my faith exactly? I'm in any rush to meet things above or below. And yet they always come to us. This idea applies to tangible things too. People particularly. Would you rather meet these things with preparedness, or let them come to you? He sounds firm. I can tell he's upset about something. It's just barely there. So I ask you again, Samuel. Are you too, Nick? Are you afraid to die? I scratch the back of my head. I used to think I was. Now I just think I'm scared of what might be after. What about you? I am not afraid. If I am nothing, then I cannot be afraid. If I am something, then it'll only be a new beginning. If there is another life after this one, then I will meet it. What about you, Nick? He doesn't say much. Then his chin trembles. Oh, I am afraid. Yao turns to look at Nick. I don't want to lose what we have. There looks to be something like pity in the tiger's eyes. But you know it's all ending soon. We did our best. I don't want to think about that. I'm shaken by the shout. So is Yao. But you have to. I just want to drink with them and cook with them and do a good day's work for a good day's pay until we share our last summer. This is our last summer, friend. He's made the calls. The weapons are placed. The weapons? What weapons? The ones that we'll use to protect ourselves if we don't get out on time. What's that supposed to mean? This is a mine, not a battlefield. For now. We should make that our memory if we truly want to leave. He pats himself down in his towel and stands, looking back to the direction of the stag. He steps back into his clothes. It looks like he misses it. But I don't get why. It's still there. And we're still here. There are things I don't want to leave behind too. But I am just one man. He looks back once again, and I will choose to protect myself. We will get the gold tomorrow night, and then we will take the train out. Come with me or do not. Then he walks away. Nick emerges, patting down his body as much as his eyes. Can you explain to me what that was all about? Everybody thinks the bloodshed is coming after what happened in Ludlow. They are preparing for war. War? I know things are bad, but are they really that bad? Yes, Sam. Things are that bad. That's crazy. Look at the lives you all built in spite of everything. The day was exciting. I saw you have fun. He smiles at me weakly. There's been something on my mind, Sam. Did you know that, unlike my friends, war is something I do not know? No. I never asked. Never felt it appropriate to. Let me tell you something about Lachia. My parents told me that war would make its way into our lives eventually. We share our borders to Vas Rus to the east and to Tenacious Almany to the west. And oh, how they hated each other. Hated my people even more for being in the way of their conflict. They both wanted to conquer us. And eventually they did. For instance, my name, Nikolai, is a Rus name. My Lach parents would have named me Mikoyai if they'd not been influenced. I wouldn't have known the difference. I feel bad about that. Whenever my parents thought it might end, and they would adjust to new ways of life, they continued to fear that we'd always get defeated again someday. Because that was what they knew, and the story that history told. There was always a back and forth and endless fight of pettiness and control. I'm sorry. Yet there was something to be thankful for. Lachia, through its hardships, discovered there were other ways to fight a war. There is a term you probably have never heard. Organic work. So, like, church music? He starts laughing. You misunderstand the idea. The idea is that your people are strong, no matter how many borders you lose, or how many times you are conquered, or beaten, or stolen from. Your people can never lose their identity if they cooperate with one another without requiring costs. And how do you make your people strong? Community. Language. Education. Family protection. You aren't destroyed when you're stolen from, because there's a neighbour who can help you in your time of need. And there is a sense of national bond that passes social layers too. I've seen this way of managing industry work in Lachia. All it requires to work is for industry to invest resources in development endeavours that don't tie entirely into profit. And I've seen it work here too, which is why the notion keeps coming back. The idea is still good. And it was right. Lachia's borders fall time and time again. But there's still Lachia. The problem is just... I know we don't know war and violence to be strong. But war does not care what you think, and war comes all the same. Even when you want no part in it. Even when you can see it coming. I don't want to keep losing people for the rest of my life. I think about the photo Nick has on his bed. The big and small badgers who look like Nick. Is your family still alive? He looks hurt when I say this. If my parents were alive, they would be very, very old, Sam. If my sisters are alive, I would have no way to find them. I see. I'm sorry. Mostly just hard to relate. I wonder what it's like to have a family you actually miss. Well, that is okay. I use a towel to clean the water off of his back. Do you miss him? He leans into my paw. I don't think you ever stop missing the people who leave you. But space grows around them. New experiences fill in the gaps. You discover new people to miss all over again. I whistle for him. It's awful sad, Nick. I keep thinking about what Yao asked us tonight. About if we fear death. Such a fun guy. I'm not afraid of death. I'm more afraid of having to start over too many times before my last summer. I just want a slow, cozy, gentle run before I have to sleep for good. I want my neighbours leaving flowers by my bed, not faceless strangers passing by. Why are you acting like my grandpa? Your grandpa? You're what? 39? Or 38. Well, as clean as you live, you got at least 4 decades for the big one. Maybe even 5. Well, I cough more than I used to, Sam. I'm not as healthy as you seem to think. Nonsense. There's no other explanation for how you beat me in that weightlifting contest today. Well, I definitely don't smoke like you and William do. Smoking makes you feel good, though. Maybe you'll come to like the taste if you tried the right mix. There's enough things in my lungs already, but thank you. We jump when we hear the sound of tumbling rocks. Nick rushes to get back in his clothes, and I try my best to spare him some dignity, in case it's a young woman passing by. But it isn't. It's that fox, the Burns boy. It looks messed up, dishevelled and dirty, and most concerning of all, deeply confused. Ah, can we help you? He shakes his head a bit. Do either of you have the time? Do it look like fellas who can afford a fancy watch? I'm sorry. He leans over and starts throwing up. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Is he alright? He just lost his lunch. I'd say he isn't. Fuck. He wipes his mouth. Then he twitches and starts making more retching noises. He needs water. I think he needs more than water, Nick. He thrusts his canteen into the fox's hand. A swish and spit. The stick is terrible for your teeth. He takes the canteen and leans back his head. Then he gargles and spits. Now, drink. I don't want to drink. Your stomach is empty. You need water and food. Do you even have any food? Nick pulls something out of his side pocket. Looks like a bag of dried peanuts. We'll get you something more substantial when we reach the Stag. We will? Yes, Sam. All right. People give us weird looks as we come walking into the club with a red fox hanging around our shoulders. We find a call on the Stag where there's some familiar faces. Paul, Dmitri, Felipe and Yao. Chang, too. How's the string been? Think about mentioning he works with William. Considering the company, it might not be the best idea. He's a photographer. That's green enough to be a string bean. We found him wandering by the pools. The fox's eyes flutters open and he starts to stand on his own. But he wobbles. I'm not that sick. That is something only a sick person says. Hey. He looks at Chang. I know you. Yao's eyes narrow. Do you? Only professionally. He hisses something to the sable's ear. The sable hisses back. The fox blinks again. Strong stuff. Maybe a bit too strong. He laughs a bit, stumbling. Nick catches him and takes him to a rafter. I'll return with food and water. Watch him, Sam. I don't need to be pushy. I sit down with him, sighing. He gives me a big toothy smile that makes him look like he still isn't all the way aware of his surroundings. So what brings the heir of the Burns family to our humble company tonight? Oh, you know of us? Your father is a primary supplier to the city. It would be irresponsible if I didn't. Well, if you can believe it, I've been here before. I usually like to keep a low profile. Oh, I'd be shy of her. Come now, relax. You're among good people. The fox titters and it's almost like a giggle. He grabs onto Dmitri's sleeve, still laughing. He tugs himself free and pats the man's paw. Whatever's wrong with him right now is still definitely messing with him, and everybody knows it. I think I want what he's having. He looks around at everybody, expecting him to laugh. Nobody does. Yao is staring sternly at Chang, who tries to avoid eye contact. Nick rushes back to the rafters with a paper bag and a honey bun. Murdoch takes the bag, flips the paper from one side to the other, then does it 2 more times. He laughs at it. That's it. Nick opens the bag for him, takes the bread out and puts it in front of him. Honey bread. Puts the mug down on the rafter, which makes a loud thud. Milk. The fox nods at them, then takes the mug to his mouth and starts to drink. Then he bites into the bread. He giggles through it. As he continues to chew, he smiles less and less. Then he drinks again, eyes widening. What time is it? At 7:30 p.m. The fox frowns. That can't be right. It was 7:30 just hours ago. You can see him been walking around all this time since yesterday. He looks nervous. Really nervous. What happened to you? Nothing did. I was just taking pictures with my brother-in-law. In the mines. The workers exchange glances. What for? Something to do with the veins. Seeing where the water flowed. Safe places to dig. I'm not knowledgeable about this kind of thing. I was just there to set up the tripod and do the lighting for the shoots. Runs a finger through his fur and looks at the dirt beneath his fingernails. So what happened next? Yeah, what happened? There was a door. A door? A nice door, like on the stoop of a house. Bit weird to see in a mine, right? Not that weird if James was making additions. Oh, stop heckling. I want to hear this. Yeah, it's not that interesting. I just went through it to see what it was. And I ended up outside. So did my brother-in-law, but he got a little headed about the directionals of everything. Said somebody was playing a prank on us. He chuckled and then frowned. That wasn't all, was it? Now, what makes you say that? You look. The fox tilts his head again and scratches his head for a little harder. His nails look like he scratched a little too hard now. Well, the story's ridiculous enough as it is, isn't it? The truth of the matter, I must have been hallucinating or lost consciousness at some point. Atreus. It's the first time I heard the Sable speak to anybody else. There wasn't just one door. I'd seen them where Jim would tell me there's supposed to be gas leaks, so there's some kind of explanation what I was probably actually seeing. What's really strange is I thought I saw people in them. You mean like spooks? Don't joke like that. I don't mess around with spirits. Well, that's the thing. They didn't seem dead to me. They just looked like, well, people. People in a place they shouldn't be. So I'm pretty sure it's just a hallucination. We all have our stories about those mines. Yep. Sure do. Murdoch looks a little uneasy when he hears that. How do some of them go? Have you ever heard some wild animals will wander into the caves and die? Yeah. Kind of corner one night and saw a bunch of deer carcasses covering the floor. Thought it was just a bunch of thick moss. Then I saw the rib cages poking through. I still remember his scream. Yeah, I bet you do. There's a whole pack of them. They'd all clotted together. Gelatinized. Like I've sworn they were vermin eaten from the inside out since they seemed to move. The longer I looked, the less feral they looked. They started looking like people. You're right, he threw up. Don't make him queasy. I ran out of that gagging. Next time I saw they were just bones. I still smell like that awful smell from time to time. Oh, mine are not so gruesome. Yeah, you're blessed. Well, divinity plays no part in this, I think. So, what did you see? The bear takes a sip of his beer mug and puts on a thoughtful face. Wind chimes. Folks exchange odd looks with one another. Wind chimes. That's what I said. Whenever I see a bit of light in the daytime, I'll see a wind chime hovering in the air. Sometimes it's made of metal. Sometimes it's wood. But they hang and don't have strings. I thought I was mad for a time. That is, until everybody else brought forward strange stories of their own. Why doesn't Chang talk about... No. The refusal is heavy and bitter. Ain't you a stinker? He does not have to talk about it again if he does not want to. How about you share with the group? Looks like he's about to say something. Then he doesn't. He crosses his arms and sinks into the rafter. Chang looks like he's about to talk, then doesn't either. I don't see anything. But I hear plenty. Well, I'd hope what you do with those big old ears. I hear somebody counting down to 10. Sometimes they're a different voice, but that's always the number. They sound scared. More scared than anybody I'd ever heard. We've been in so many dangerous situations. I never thought I'd meet somebody who'd be more scared than us on the regular, but He takes a deep breath. Yeah, I definitely heard them. How about you two? They all look at me and Nick. Yeah, they've been pretty quiet, huh? I haven't been in the mines enough to see much of anything. Well, he has. Huh? Oh, no. Nick's a terrible liar under pressure. Oh, I did see something. I don't really know what it was. The first time he saw something was last night. Whereabouts in the mine? Oh. Well. What if he talks about the gold? They can't know about that. Can they? You know. Paul tilts his head. Dimitri lifts an eyebrow. Yeah, we don't. You're the one telling the damn story. Oh. You are right. That is true. What the? I will share what I experienced now. Everybody's attention snaps to the tiger. He uncrosses his arms and takes a deep breath. I know what is at the bottom of the mines. That's suspect. Yeah, quit yanking at chains. They haven't even drilled that far yet. But one day they will. And they will weep and gnash their teeth. What the? You're saying it's a big old hot and heavy Kestner Briggs cock and balls or something? Quite being vague. If I had the skill and the talent to explain it, I would. It is something that must be experienced. But I would not wish that upon any of you. He sounds angry. Angry and tired. I need a drink. Oh, you do? Because that reminds me I promised a round for all of you. You don't have to do that, Dimitri. You already have clinical bills to worry about. I insist. I'll be offended if you don't drink. You all deserve it. Except you. He pointed at the fox. Only milk or water for you. I don't need to worry on my account. I'm happy to see Mr. Burns more present as the night goes on. The stories, as tense as they were, still leave us tense, but talkative. The music in the barn picks up as square dances begin to start. Hey, Samuel. Yeah? Do you think we could dance tonight? No? He frowns at me. Please? I'm bad at dancing, Nick. Well, that's not true. I know you know how to move. I still don't like it. So, sorry for eavesdropping, but I heard this conversation. I feel much better talking, and after the solid food and the liquids. It got me thinking. I played you on occasion, I know the guitarist. I could play something special for you to dance to. You could? I don't like it when you think. Oh, please, Sam. Just this last time. He's sad that we might never come here again. He's guilting me. He's guilting me and it's working. Damn it. Okay. You better not step on me. I won't. He looks nervous about the fact he might break that promise. Let me see what I can do then.
Desert night, the summer sand, natural things, naturally, what frontiersmen should understand. And nothing's more natural than knowing how to move. Here's a tune about an ache that we can soothe. Let's reenact a snappy scene that duds might find mundane, about a pair of partners who hit up and miss their train. One grabbed the other's wrist and asked him, buy a man some hooch. Of course the other said, we'll sly or another working pooch. He tossed and taps a shoulder blade as temperance flies the coop. Then eyes meet eyes and glass meets glass as whiskers start to droop. Well, if you're feeling spry and gay, I think you know what's next. Lock eye to eye and elbows hooked and keep your partner flexed. Wet your whistle, quench your thirst, though it be hard to see. Having vice ain't always nice, but hey, at least you're free. Now take a dip and hook his hip, remind me of that scene where words pass lips between the sips and somewhere rather mean. But hey, they're pressed in closer, hey, their courage bloomed, and hey, they're taking wagers, boasting over which their manhood loomed. Though thigh to thigh and pockets frisked, he grabbed his partner's wrist. Got a different kind of drink for you, I simply must insist. Now my mind grows foggy as those spirits fade. Look now how morning light is seizing our charade. Ruffled slacks, sweaty backs, all about the floor. Revel quietly as others about you snore. Lock gazes and think upon my scene. You may find the things they hadn't yet and thoughts between. Lovers light, morning dark, and everything you know. There's many locks and keys as you allow.
We're tired, dirty, dizzy. I told you that you'd step on my foot. Well, I told you you'd enjoy it. But that was fun. That was really fun. Nick is smiling ear to ear. The rest of his friends got stone drunk or fell asleep. He said he'd meet us again in that spot by the lake, right? Right. That's in the opposite direction. I'm going back home to get my helmet first. We don't need your helmet? We agreed to be going back for the goal tomorrow night. Just wanted to talk details. But I want my helmet. It's getting dark. There's plenty of starlight. He doesn't listen to me. Instead, he just walks faster. I know he can be stubborn at times, but bizarre to see him this fixated on something. Finally, we get back to the shack. He creeps through the door, extra quiet. Then I hear the screen door and the wooden door creak as he starts to shuffle through the knobs of his locker. I look around me as I wait for him. The sky is bright and I've never seen it with the stars, and the sandy mountains look extra tall and smooth. Sculpted like. I know I'm not going to be trapped here anymore. It puts the whole place into a different perspective. It's a hell of a lot prettier than the flat, muggy swamp I crawled out of. I think I'm beginning to understand why Nick was so down. I think about never seeing the place again. Starting to come around to the rest of his friends. There's places and people I'm leaving behind too. Will, Cynthia, Dora and the rest of the girls. Well, I'm not going to miss Ethel. Just have to make new memories wherever it is I end up. That's what life is like, ain't it? No. Huh? The inside of the shack is quiet. I expect you're shuffling or scrabbling or something. I just hear nothing. I whisper yet at the door. Nick, are you alright? No. I wait for him to elaborate, but he doesn't. No, no, no. Nick, what's wrong? No, no, no. He's not just yelling. He's sobbing. He's on the floor of the locker room staring back at me, eyes wide and full of panic. His chest is heaving faster than I've seen him move before. Look where he's looking. His helmet isn't there. Huh. Well, where'd it go? And he screams. Wild, tortured screams. I've never heard him make sounds like this. It scares me at first. And it just makes me sad. No! Nick, it's just a helmet. Where's my light, Sam? We'll get you another one. I took my light. I hear grouchy voices rouse and footsteps hit the floor. The hell? Fucking addicts, I swear. Shut that racket up. Quietly thank the stars I didn't leave the gold nugget with him. I don't trust this place. Nick, we gotta get up. He's still lying on the floor, heaving, crying. The pupils in his eyes look bigger than I've ever seen them before. I think there's something actually wrong with him. He clutches his chest and seizes up. I don't want anybody to see him like this. I stand in the doorway, and the puny little squirrels squint at me holding up lanterns. Fuck's sake are you? I'm one of the tenants. Who's making that noise? Different tenant. See, somebody's looking at his things that didn't belong to them, so he's real upset right now. It's one of them hard hats with the lights in them. Maybe next time I keep it in the bank. It's the most unhelpful thing I've ever heard. Hard hats aren't the kind of things you keep in a bank, dumbass. Just give him some space, please. I'll keep him quiet. I know who took it. I know that voice. It's coming from behind me. Outside. I see his rooted screen if I can make out the outline of the rest of his face. I gotta warn you, because this didn't get real ugly. There we go. That was the latest episode of The Smoke Room. So, getting hurt, making a fuss about having to do nothing for a while, going back to work as soon as possible. Yeah, I wonder who it is Dimitri reminds me of. But I do like him. Mainly because of stuff like that. Yeah, it's very familiar. I hope you enjoyed that animatic in there as well. That was a lot of fun. And hopefully I got the volume right when I recorded it. I'll find out later. I had to change things around so you could hear it properly. But, I know Will's update came out for patrons, Smoke Room, so in a while we'll be doing that. Definitely getting Password done, Tyson's finale next week. It's been delayed. I was, of course, not doing anything last week. There's that. We have Revamped the Flowers to get back to at some point as well. A couple of new stories I have to read for people. And more Nevin. We're going on to a new route in Burrows. The end of Arches. There's a whole lot of stuff coming up here to do. And I have no idea when any of it's going to happen. So when I know, I'll let you know. But one thing I do know is I have to say thanks to all my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon. You're always very much appreciated. And a special mention to my top donors. Andy Peng, Samuto, Omar, Big Booty Judy, Nova Starburn, Vulpers Need Coffee, Burnt Toast, Kartek, Govers Visser, Legacy Butcherati, Mark Heskerton, Bastian, Brian Hall, Tiger Cub, Ida Corval, Anubis Silverwind, Dissonance, Grizz, Spiderling, Kopi, Sindri Dragowolf, Marcus, Evan King, Exac, Aaron Fox, and Mohammed Al-Zamel. Special thanks to all of you. And of course that reminds me as well that we have more after class to do at some point. We're going to be taking a look at Andy's route amongst the others, and there's more after years as we carry on with Rowley's route. If any of you keeping track of this, please let me know, because I'm having a hard time doing it. But until next time, I say Tyson finale and Password will definitely be next weekend, and we'll see what happens in the week. Something will happen anyway. Plan it. When it happens, we'll see. But until next time, whatever it is and when it is, Thanks for watching. Bye for now.